No. So we are going to record this here, and it will be up on my YouTube. And if you guys don't have a link to that, you know what? I will, if I can. Marnie has the link. It's too complicated for me to figure it out. Put it in the chat. So that has other previous contract classes that we can add, as well as some command training and that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, if you can't sleep at night, go log into my YouTube channel and see how that helps you out. All right, there's DeBella showing up too. All right, I'm gonna wait till DeBella. It looks like his audio is still connecting. I want to make sure he can hear it before I really get cranking here. And just FYI, also, I run these contract classes about once a month, a little bit more than once a month. It's really about every 3 weeks or so. I book an hour, right? It's just from 9 to 10, but they never take an hour unless people just want to discuss stuff. So I don't want to just waste or just take up time talking about contracts and details. I really want to just take apart one thing at a time. So we dive into one specific one. And this week I want to dive into the multiple counter, multiple offer, multiple counter document, because it's something that has come up as of recent. In this market, it is oftentimes when your listing has multiple offers on it, and you don't want to just take one and deal with them, or you don't want to throw it all back at them and say come back with your highest and best. You actually want to counter them and see what you can do. So since I have Jair, Genesis, and DeBella here live with me, I'm going to gear this towards basically brand new agent understanding what goes on. So you guys understand, when a buyer writes an offer, they're writing that offer to the seller, and the seller has three options: accept, reject, or counter, right? So they always have those three options. When there are, and just straight up. So if you want to counter, there is a specific document that is the counter offer document. And it's just for bilateral, meaning just two people involved, but it throws the counter across, and the offer with the counter number one, counter number two, counter number three, whatever, all of that tells the story of the contract. And that's how Arizona does it. We like them all together. Other states you put in what's called like an intent, or a letter of intent, or a letter of will, or something like that says, hey, this is what I want to do. Then you go fight it out what the terms are. And then once you figure out what the terms are, then you write the contract with all the terms. And all the stuff previous is all evidence, but really the contract is what tells the difference, or what defines the escrow. In Arizona, we like all of that evidence to be part of it. So you start with the purchase contract or purchase offer, and if they accept it, then you're done. But then you have counters and then addenda throughout the contract, and all of that tells the whole storyline of the contract. Now, it gets complicated when you have multiple offers coming in, and you want to deal with all of them. So let's see, I have three of you on here. I'm going to play the seller, and I have a house for $450,000, and Jair writes me an offer for $440, all cash, close in 30 days. Genesis writes me an offer for $455, financed, close in 35 days. And DeBella writes me an offer for $445 with an escalation clause up to $460, FHA financed, close in 35 days, right? So those all three different offers, they have their pluses and minuses, and they have their individual strengths. So one's cash, one's conventional finance, one's FHA, one has an escalation clause. So they all have little different data points. That can get really hard for a seller to decide who they should be working with. Well, the AAR decided that we need a document that allows the seller to negotiate individually with those three people all at the same time. So if you can imagine, on a normal counter situation, Jair, if I was just working with you and you sent me an offer, I sent you a counter offer, and you signed that counter offer, the minute you signed and then deliver that counter offer back to me, we're under contract, right? So that binds us. In a multi-counter, I have 3 different people in this, Jair, Genesis, DeBella, I've got all 3 of you possibly accepting what I'm going to throw back at you, right? And so I want to keep myself from accidentally selling my house 3 times. I want to only sell it once. So the multi-counter builds in a little clause that says this counter is not executed. It's not an active contract until it then comes back to the seller again, and the seller accepts it. So I can send all 3 of you this multi-counter, and you can all accept them and then send them back to me. But it's not an active contract until I then look at all 3 of those and decide which one I want to go with. Right. So it adds an extra confirmation level back to the seller. And you'll see that a little bit better once we pull in the document, because it tells the story. But in this situation that I just laid out, Jair had an offer at $440 cash. Maybe I just, that $440 cash, that's great, but I'm going to get $15,000 more from Genesis because she was $455. So $440 and Genesis is strong. I'm going to get the money. I'm a seller in the end. Once it's all said and done, the cash is in my pocket. Maybe I want to counter Jair with, hey, I want you to come in at $455, not $440, right? And your cash is good, right? And Genesis, I see that yours came in at $455 and you've got a financed offer. I want you to give me an appraisal waiver or an appraisal shortfall or something like that. Just something to do with the appraisal to keep you from using the appraisal to lower the price back down. Jair's cash offer doesn't have an appraisal because it's cash. Cash does not have an appraisal. And DeBella, you've got an escalation clause in yours, but you've got an FHA financed product. So I want to counter you with like the same 455 or 460 or something like that. Maybe I want to up your earnest money so you've got a little more skin in the game to make sure you follow through, right? I don't know. Or maybe I want to eliminate your financing, your appraisal contingency. So I would be countering to each of you independently, right? There's different terms that I'm going back to each of you with. And this document allows for that. So I am sharing my screen, right? Can you guys see my screen, or did I stop share?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just in a blank docs room, in DocuSign rooms. I'm going to go add a document. So I go over here to add, grab DocuSign forms. And I know that this is, it's called multiple counter. So I just want to start typing multi. So here's multiple counter offer number 1, multiple offer / counter offer, and then mutual. So I'm just going to load up this multiple offer counter offer. There we go. Now we will take a look at how it's configured here. Anybody got any questions about the situation I set up? Like that, did that make sense, or was that confusing?
No, it makes sense.
Okay, good. All right, so what I'm in here is the multiple counter offer. This top bin is like, is this number 1? Is this number 2? Is this number 3? Whatever, right? This is a multiple offer. So this form right here would be built. It looks like the whole training room just signed up. So let's see what the training room says. This document here is built. If I wanted to make multiple, if I was a buyer and I wanted to make offers on 2 or 3 different properties, I can use this. I can use this this document to do that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is for originated by the buyer. So I wanted to pull this in here to show this would be if I'm the buyer and I want to offer on multiple properties and not sign myself up for buying 3 properties accidentally if everybody accepts. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to go add that other document. I wanted to show you both of those documents so you know there is a difference. So multiple counter then is the one, if we're in the situation, I'm the seller, I'm going to pull the multiple counter offer. And pull it in. Good morning, training room. Looks like training room's on mute. So they don't get to talk or participate. Okay, so this is a multiple counteroffer originated by the seller, right? That's line number one. To the offer or the counteroffer, because we could have been going back and forth. But I'm going to say to the offer, since you three just wrote an offer to me, right? And I'm going to put me in here, right? And then if I wanted to write this document for each Jair, Genesis, and DeBella, I write one for Jair, and then I would take this and I would send it out, and then I would write another one for Genesis, right? And then I have a completely different one for DeBella, right? So I would be creating 3 separate documents and sending them out. So you are when you read the text of this document, it does make sense that it makes sense of the fact that you're going to be sending this to multiple people. Actually, it's right here in the bold. Seller is making one or more counteroffers to other prospective buyers on teams or on terms that may or may not be the same as countered herein. So, like I just talked about, I may be countering Jair and Genesis and Bella with different terms, right? All of them different. Until final acceptance, the parties understand the premise can be sold to someone else, and either party may withdraw any offer, counteroffer, or to buy or sell this premises. So basically, until we have this very bottom seller final acceptance, right? This is anybody can do anything. Hello, training room. You came off mute. Who's in there? Nobody. Nobody's in the training room. All right. But they're not mute. So I hope somebody goes in there and has an interesting conversation. We just get to hear it. So then right in here are the details, the actual counteroffer details. So like for Jair, yours was cash. I want to say, purchase price to be $455. And I don't, all other terms and conditions. All other terms and conditions remain the same, right? And then just like any other offer, counteroffer, there is some time that you need to be accepted by. So we're going to put in, by whatever, 1/23 22 at 5 p.m. Right? And then the seller would sign this and send it back. Send it over to Jair. Right. And then I would go change this to Genesis. And you already had the offer at 455, so I don't want to do that, but I want to say buyer to waive appraisal contingency. Right. I might have more words around describing that. We actually have an additional clause in them. That I would attach to this that has a paragraph rather than just 5 words describing how to deal with that appraisal contingency. So that's what I would counter to Genesis, right? And then finally I'd have one that goes to DeBella, and his would be purchase price to be $455. Oh, that's cool. And earnest money to be $10,000. Right. So maybe that's what I wanted to have. Anyways, you guys get that I can counter each of you in a different manner. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's going to roll. In DocuSign, this is technical details. This doesn't have to do with contract. This has to do with DocuSign. I would want to take this right here, this form. I wrote it up to DeBella, filled out all the right stuff, save it and close it, add it to an envelope, and then go back into the form and change it for Jair, and then save it and close it and add it to a different envelope, and then go back and change it. The way DocuSign works is, as long as this form is sitting in the room just open, it's like a blank piece of paper. I can sit here and write on it. Every time I open it, though, I'm editing it, right? When I put it in the envelope, so when I take this and add it to an envelope right here, this button right here, that's basically it taking a photocopy of that of what I just put in there and securing it, right? So it's DocuSign. That's when it actually starts attaching a secured like pathway to it, securing it and putting it into an envelope where somebody can sign it. You can't edit that anymore, but it's a photocopy of the original form that was in here. So once I load that photocopy into the envelope, I can go back here and re-edit the form and create a different version of it because I have a secure version in my envelope.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? I get a lot of weird questions about that, or especially around addendum, because you might have 4, 5, 6 addendum during a contract, but you only load one form into the room. You just keep filling it out differently, and then once you load it in the envelope, that's what like photocopies that form, and that's what creates the secure version of it. So I just, I'd fill out the multiple counter, throw it in the envelope, come out and fill out the multiple counter for Genesis, throw it in an envelope, come back, fill out the multiple counter for Dabella, and throw it in an envelope. And I'd have 3 different envelopes to send to my seller to sign, one for Jair, one for Genesis, one for Dabella. That make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Then really the logistics around that could be as simple as only one person says, yeah, I'll agree with that, right? And then you have a win, right? It gets complicated when Genesis and Jair say yes, and Dabella says, no, I'm not going to do that. They're out, right? They back out. When we get 2 people that come back to me as the seller saying, yeah, I agree with your terms that you threw at me. They would have clicked this buyer acceptance check mark and signed it, and I would have had 2 accepted offers waiting for me to select which one I want to go with. And then as a seller, I can either write another multiple counter back to them, right? I could do this again, say, you know what, you both come back to the same, so I'm gonna bump it up to 460. See who can throw in another $5,000, right? Or I can just say, you know what, all said and done, cash is king. I don't have an appraisal. I don't want to deal with that. So Jair, I'm going to go with you, right?
Yes.
Or all said and done, I liked Genesis better because she's going to paint the walls pink, whatever. And that would be her reason to the seller's reason. The seller can choose any reason they want to select a buyer. No matter what. Say again.
With that being said, if me and Genesis both approve, or we both accept the counter offer that was made to us, and you're kind of being a little greedy and wanting more, you run the risk of both of us, both me and Genesis, saying no, and then now you're left with nothing. Right?
Correct. So your job as a realtor, your job as the consultant to the seller is to explain them the risks, right? Mm-hmm. So your conversation with the seller is, hey, we have both of these people that would agree to the terms. You have the same three options. You can accept, reject, or counter, right? You always have that, right? Understand, when you counter, you put the ball back in their court, right? So if you want to maintain control of this and say, yes, I want to go with these, then we need to accept this. If you just want to see if there's more out there, understand that the risk means, yes, there may be more, or there may be nothing. Right, there may be more, or you may be back to ground zero, right? And I've had sellers, have a lot of backtrack for that. They're like, oh yeah, let's throw 460 back at them. You throw 460 out and crickets, right? Got nothing, and sellers clawing back, going, oh hey Jair, I was just kidding about that 460. Would you still pay 455 for it, right? It puts you in a little bit weaker space from there. So it's nice to have nice to have that conversation with the sellers so they understand that that's what's happening, right? That they're putting the ball back in the other people's court, right? And prior to this, right, I guess my conversation to the sellers is usually, what I'm going to put in this counter needs to be something that makes you happy, right? Not just something you think they'll accept, but something that makes you happy. So whatever you put in this counter, if they say yes to, should make you smile. And it's not worth writing the counter if you're going to throw it across and you're still going to be angry about the offer that was agreed to, right? So in that fortunate situation, when I send both of these counters over and both people accept, I have a win-win-win-win situation, right? I told them what I would be happy with, and I have two people saying they would do that. So a strategy for the realtor and for the seller is, I'm going to go with the cash, give them their short amount of time to decide whether they want it or not, you know, their inspection period. And if they don't, unhook them, you know, tell them to cancel, and then go back after Genesis and see if she still wants the place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's no like, and I would convey that to Genesis. Hey, Genesis, I have a cash offer on hand. They're really quite aggressive about it. I think they're going to go through. There is always the chance that they won't. And my seller did really like your offer and your agreement to the counter offer. So would you mind if I held you in a really close backup situation and let you know if things go south with the cash offer? Right. And just position yourself in that manner so that you've got one and you got another one on the hook.
Mm.
That would be pretty ideal. All right. Well, that's the whole seller, the multi-counter document. It gets confusing. It is not recommended for the light of heart because it is a lot of logistics. When sellers get into the mode of like, oh, I want to counter them all. Like, okay, well, here's what this is going to look like. We're going to have this document that's going to be a different document that goes out to everybody. And then you're going to have to analyze all of them that come back, and they might all accept. And so you still are left with the same decision of which one do I go with. And some sellers are like, I don't want to deal with that. Just let's try to negotiate with Jair as fast as we can. And if he says no, then we're going to go down to Genesis and see if they don't, that negotiate with her. And if that's not going to work out, then we're going to go to Bella, and you just try to accelerate those conversations as quick as possible so that you can make that you don't lose people, right? If I take 5-6 days trying to negotiate with Jair, Genesis and DeBella might have found a different house to buy, right? They don't want my house anymore. So that might be phone conversations and texts and things like that they may work out a negotiation within hours, not days worth of back and forth. So that's the other way. What kind of questions you guys got?
With today's market, is this happening more?
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
Okay, makes sense.
Sellers are getting 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 offers. We're not in the 35 or 50 offer situation that we were last summer, but they are a good house might get multiple, in half a dozen offers or so, and a few of those will be really good, right? If you get 6 offers, there are going to be 2 or 3 of them that are going to be low balls or something that's just not going to make your seller happy. But there may be more than 1, 2, 3, 4 offers that are really quite good offers that your seller wants to negotiate with. So yes, this does happen, and it's happening more now than it has in the past, just because there's more opportunity for multiple offers coming in. Yeah. What else? Any other questions? All right, awesome. Well, then that was good. I'm gonna cue this down because shorter recordings are better viewed online. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually